Okay, the biggest problem in science today is that people don't question. They blindly accept what they have been told and never stop to question if it makes sense or is true, right? As a scientist, you must question, right? I think a lot of people, when I started to write different ideas, a lot of people had it stuck in their head like, well, everybody knows Einstein, and Einstein's a genius, and Einstein wrote this, and it has to be true because my teacher told me when I was in school that it's right. And then I teach my students that it's right. So we follow that, and that's it. This is different. We don't follow that. We follow Einstein. Well, you can't do that. You know, and nobody's science is beyond reach, right? It's an evolving process, and it's self-correcting. That's what makes science different than politics, religion, and a cult, right? Science is self-correcting. It has no choice. As time goes on and old ideas fall away, new ones come up to meet the place. That's the way it works. Some people, even some people today, are trying to hold science, in place. They want it to stop, right? This is the way we like it. This is the way we want it. This is how it's going to be. You can't do that with science, and they'll fail anyway. They can make someone's life miserable, but they're going to fail anyway because they don't understand. Okay. So these are observations. Too many scientists today depend on mathematics. As a result, they think that if the math is correct, then the idea/theory must be true. They have it backwards. If the concept is correct, then the math will follow. And mathematics is not a substitute for thinking, right? You can't go, here's the math, the equation holds, I put a number in, look at that, I get another number. Doesn't mean anything, right? You have to have the concept there that fits with other ideas, scientific principles, and if you want to use math to help explain it, that's fine. If you don't, that's fine too. But you just can't rely on mathematics, which is basically what happens today. Everything starts off with an equation, sort of like what Jim Parsons' character does on The Big Bang Theory. Sheldon Cooper, right? Sheldon Cooper. That's one, yeah, anyway. Okay. Well, here's another one, though. Black holes, right? There are billions of spiral galaxies in the universe with a supposed black hole at the center of each. And science has only found or supposed one photograph. And I do mean supposed. In other words, they took a picture. I mean, it looks like it could be, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's a black hole. And if there are a gazillion spiral galaxies, and the astronomers tell us that every spiral has a black hole in the center, we should be finding thousands of these, right? There should be thousands of photographs for black holes. Well, I read two. I know of one, and even that is questionable. So I'm not so sure. I don't say they don't exist. I'm just saying if there are thousands, there should be far more photographs with black holes than just basically one. So, okay. A lot of this, when they start writing, you may have not heard it, but it's called confirmation bias. Confirmation bias. It applies to all humans as well as scientists. Generally stated, we generally find what we want to see. I've looked at many journal articles supporting Mr. Einstein's work and found them all lacking merit. The experiments have been consciously or unconsciously manipulated to find the result that they want to see, right? Video one, my first video mentions two of these, which I'll mention right here. One is the Frisch-Smith experiment back in 1963 for time dilation using muons, right? And muons. Mu mesons turns to muons, right? And I'm reading through the paper, and at one point they, how they capture the muons, but then they say for everyone they capture, they throw hundreds away. Right? So in other words, they get one, but there's, what other 500 that they don't collect, and so they collect this little sample, and then they put it in, and whoa, Einstein right again. Right? I mean, it's a very terrible experiment, and it's really surprising. One of them is from MIT. The other professor, I think, is from Illinois. So, yeah, that doesn't show anything. The other one is the Haffel and Keating experiment, where they used atomic clocks to go around the world. But if you read the articles, the first thing that popped into my head is, well, you can't take a airliner and just 24 hours just travel. You need to refuel, weather. I mean, whatever else. There's all kinds, and it turns out that they don't incorporate any of that in their experiment. Nothing, right? They just fly, stop overnight for 12 hours, get back up, go on overnight. They ruin the whole experiment. I mean, if you can't do an experiment correctly, don't do it, or do a smaller part of it, because it just makes you, less credible to get anything done. Yeah, so the last thing here, we've made it through. Mr. Einstein's work, or that of any other scientist or group of scientists, are never off limits for review, including mine, right? If we allow one person's work, or the work of many, to become holy, that's when science will die, right? What concerns me most today is that science is already looking ill. I'm reading, these papers. I'm looking at other people's work. I'm asking questions. Nobody gets back to me. So I come up with my own solutions. I put those in the videos. And yeah, no one will talk to me at all. I mean, I still keep, I just go on. There's nothing else I can do. They're going to eventually change that, but they have no choice, but they're not going to do anything now. So, you can't, like Mr. Einstein, you can't hold his science with some kind of majestic aura. I mean, it's science. No one's science is off limits or off bounds. So that can't be allowed to happen. Like I said, no one's work is beyond. You have to have scientific reasons why it might not work, or why it's wrong, or why you think it's incorrect. That's okay. But you can either just summarily say someone's work is incorrect, even though you never even read it, or you can't say that all their work is correct, even if you don't look at anything else that says it might not be correct. So you have to be careful. Science is special. That's why I'm not a politician, or a minister, or starting my own cult. I will say one other thing I sort of tagged into this. I haven't read a lot on quantum entanglement. I still need to do more reading, but I'm kind of looking at it, and it's going back to all the experiments, like the two that I just mentioned here, with the muons and the atomic clocks. I mean, those experiments, they're embarrassing. They're absolutely embarrassing to call them scientific experiments. And I'm looking at the quantum entanglement, and I think the experiment, something's very faulty there. I don't know what. Like I said, I have to read more about it. I'm not going to make any claims at this point, but you kind of get a feel for what they're doing for the experiments and what works, and I would very much question their experiments that they're using to validate. The other thing is, I have a doctoral field in econometrics. So what worries me? In a social science, economics or psychology or sociology, you're stuck because you can't just put numbers into it and think it's going to work. You have to use statistical models and probability models and you know, whatever else. But when in the hard sciences, when statistical models are used, I get very wary of, you know, the results that they came up with. Somewhat like the accelerating universe. No, I don't think so. And you know, with the quantum entanglement too. I mean, a lot of it's statistical work, and I really have questions about that. Anyway, you know, that's sort of, I just wanted to touch my 10 videos, a little background about it, and also, like I said, some observation is what's happening now. And I think we should be worried because science isn't really progressing as it should, right? There are people that are kind of blocking the way that, like I said, have ulterior motives as to why they just want to stop science right where it is, right? We're not going to go any further. We like this. We're going to etch it in stone so that all future generations have to do this. And they can't do anything else because we know it all. And that's what we like. That's a problem. Science can never do that. Science can never do that. It keeps going. It keeps going onward. If you want to do that, then you need another field other than science. So, I'm sorry this was so rambling as to what I was talking about. I remember Paul Gerber, but I don't remember the perihelion of Mercury. It's just not coming to me. Anyway, thank you for listening, and I'll probably have another video sometime soon. Thank you. I just remembered it. The procession of the perihelion of Mercury. It's funny how that works. It just came into my head. Paul Gerber, the procession of the perihelion of Mercury. All right. Thank you.